Hi! So, I'm here to tell you today that we are entering into the month of April. And with that, I have some news for you. We do have a couple of planets which are about to go into a retrograde motion, which means, by the perspective of us on Earth, it appears as if it's moving back, when in reality, it's just the alignment between us, the sun, things catching up. But as with that perspective, we are also seeing some sort of resistance of that harmonic resonance of that planet reaching us. So with that, there's a drag, which means it's a better time for stuff that begins with reflection, review, redoing, all those things. So to start things off, I'm very certain that we are beginning with Venus. Venus is in retrograde currently because at, I believe, the 2nd of April, it went into retro. And it actually went into Pisces. So it's like digging itself back, backpedaling all the way into Pisces. And with Venus, you're dealing with values and relationships. And when you're in Pisces, a water sign, you're going into more of a ease, gentle flow sort of a feel. So you're reviewing a lot of things with relationships, what's going on, how you connect with people, how you value people, and depending on where it is, which house in your chart, it can be expressed as anything between like friends, relationships, business, how you are connecting and relate to that specific archetype, I should say. So that is going to go direct on the 15th. Once it's direct, it's still in Pisces, because it's just at like the end, 28, 29 degrees. So once we hit, I believe, April 28th, it moves back into Aries. And once Venus goes into Aries, it's more like Aries is a very much let's go kind of sign. It initiates. So you're feeling a very much a heavy flow with Venus to just like align and do things directly. It's just do, you, now. And when we connect, we might be a little aggressive because it's Aries is ruled by Mars. So in those cases, you're getting a very like masculine feel of the emotional Venus archetype. So that's all happening. So once we have this Venus retrograde on the 2nd, the next retrograde that's occurring would be on the 4th, which is actually tomorrow as I record this video. And that is Saturn. Saturn is a long-term one because it takes a couple months. I believe it doesn't go direct until like August of this year, and we're currently in April, so we got a couple months. With that, when Saturn goes retrograde, which is in Sagittarius at the moment, it is a time where anyone who's a Sagittarian that has Saturn, in their chart relative to their sun or a major planet aspect, they're going to feel that Saturns are very much like, you got to do it the hard way, this is stern, this is structure, we're going to go the difficult path because you know you're going to get a lesson out of it. But when Saturn goes retrograde, what is nice is that it's more gentler. People, instead of it being hard for you, people can like turn to you and see that like, okay, it's not so bad. So in this time span, in the next couple months, we're reviewing structures in our lives on long-term assets. So what we'd like to do in a longer period, we're able to reflect and change, and we might go back to older structures just to see how we can do it at this point in time based on what we've learned up to this experience present. So that's happening there. That's more of a long term, and it takes some time. Saturn's a slow mover. Takes 30 years to cycle through, or just under 30 years to cycle through all the zodiac signs, so you got some time there. Next up, we have Mercury retrograde, which gets a bad rep because it's like, yo, don't do anything during Mercury retrograde because, you know, you're going to regret it. Don't do those contracts. Your communications are going to go like whackety whack. And not that we are having bad communications, it's just we act before we actually process and think and figure things out to say it properly. So like, for example, a best way to view this is like you got a contract and it's not that something during Mercury retrograde is going to like not work out. It's more that you're more likely to not read the contract with your full mind as well as you do on a non-Mercury retrograde, because there's just so much energy going on that like the body just goes like overload. So we're like, yeah, I like it, let's get it done. When in reality, it's like, okay, let me look it over and let me make more of a stern decision that's based off of my true feeling, instead of just like, yes, let's make it possible, because then you're just forcing, and that doesn't always work well, because it's like pulling that rubber band and it could snap in the wrong direction and make some uh-ohs. So that is going into Taurus, I believe. Yes, it's in Taurus, and it's Mercury retrograding in Taurus. So your Mercury is communication, it's Gemini, and Taurus is very much like value, grounded, sensory, and it's a value, it's ruled by Venus, so it's very much more of a tone of grounded earth relationship, figuring things out in a valued sense, because they like traditions and stuff like that. So you're going to see more of a stable Mercury retrograde. But at that same time too, it's hard to say how it will play out, because everyone's different in their own chart, and the natal chart, it's a different house for everybody depending on where your actual rising sign is. But we got Mercury going in retro till May, so we got like about a month-ish of this energy going on, where we're gonna have some mishaps here and there, so go slow. With all these retrogrades happening, it's very important that we just understand that this is a point of reflection, a point of taking a step back. So not only do we have Venus, Saturn, and Mercury, but Pluto is then going retrograde. Now Pluto is even more of a slow moving planet, because it's like far out there. And Pluto's about transformation, it's death, it's bringing out the old so we can have the new. And it's a destroyer of worlds, because without a destruction, you cannot have a rebirth, a renewal. So that's in Capricorn. Capricorn is external security, ensuring that it's like done by Saturn. So you got structure, you got the hard work, you got to put that effort in. And if it's going in retrograde, it's taking a step back to just slow its ease. And that has some aspects to other planets during these next couple months, where it's going to be, like for example, it might square Uranus, which makes some difficult transformations here and there that might be sudden and out there. But that is actually going retrograde on 4/20. So April 20th, that's going to occur. And any planet that goes retrograde, it has to stand still. It just stops for a moment before it goes back, at least visually, from our perspective on Earth. So as that is occurring, all these planets are in April taking a step back. Now, as much as Venus does go direct in April, all these other planets do not until later after April. So for now, we have all these levels of retrograde occurring. And like I'm going back to, it is a time to reflect, to understand, count your eggs, count your chickens, ensure that what you're doing is aligned with you. And this is a time period where we can actually utilize this to better understand where we would like to proceed by seeing where we've come from. And there's a lot of things where we connect to our past. Like, for example, Venus retrograde tends to be like our past connections with people, relationships. Mercury retrograde is our past connections to communications, to how we are seen and expressing, and allow for leeway for one message to go elsewhere and come back, which is why there's a lot of misunderstandings during that time, or like computer communication just tends to be like boopity bloop and doesn't always work out, and there's mishaps. So you gotta like not be so certain that something's going to happen. You gotta allow a flow, just to let some ease in, because if you don't, you're gonna like find some resistance, and you're only gonna like make yourself feel that it's worse than it actually is. And it's not really, but you gotta recognize that these are times of reflection, reevaluating, reconsidering, revisiting, anything with a re in it, because this is retro. Retro is just going back, so that's what that word means. So with all these planets, that's kind of like the overview of things that we really do just got to review and understand that this is a slow time. We're not going to get things done right away, and before we can move forward, we got to go back. We got to go back. We got to clean up karma, which is what Saturn's ruled by. We got to clean up past relationships, allow some healing for things that we're still holding on to, allow communications. I mean, Mercury retro occurs like 3 times a year, 2 to 3. So that's a common one, but we experience it more often. But it's not too much of a biggie since it's more of communications and thought processes. So even that, and then Pluto's more of a transformation, which is like, I believe that goes direct in September. So we got some time span between now and then of just taking a look back at some of the transformations before we move forward with a lot of them. So yeah, that's where we stand. This Astro Talk is pretty much just summing up that we're in this point of multiple retrogrades occurring. Now, we got some wonderful things happening, including like Venus going direct, some full moons. Sun's going into Taurus pretty much, I believe, on 19th. So we got some great stuff looking forward to this month that is going to allow some ease, some spring, some things that are going to go more smooth and flowy. But it's not like a high energy month. It's more just very much reflecting on top of just like taking it easy, going with your flow, finding your pace. Because this past couple months, yeah, we've been moving forward, but it's okay to take a step back to understand where things are and where we'd like to go. So use that time to your advantage, and thank you for watching. If there's anything else that you'd like to like be more elaborated on, I can either like answer in comments below, or if it's like a topic, look out for like my live videos I do, because I accept questions right there on the spot, and it's pretty good for like going into good stuff. So with that, I'm going to leave you with this is what I would call, yeah, a website. Yeah, and then there's this one, which is subscribe. So I might have got that mixed up, but you'll see by the picture that come up. And then eventually there's going to be a playlist like right about here. So yeah, that's all occurring. And yeah, thank you for watching and enjoy this retro reflective period, people.